I'm here because Summer asked me to come talk about what it's like to lead a grassroots movement, and that's what I wanted to talk about. I have the privilege of talking about people across America who really care about what's happening in our country and how best to think about leading them. I did so with my faith votes for a number of years. We started with three people in August of 2020, and by December 24, we had over 22,000 across the country, including 180 people or so in leadership positions in an org chart, all volunteer, who worked very, very hard every single year, and in particular this past year to influence our election with biblical values. So I learned a lot over those years, and I'm very happy to be able to uh, parlay the things that I think are the most important when you're thinking about leading a grassroots effort. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. While I do that, I want to welcome some of the people that were part of our Action Partner and still are part of our Action Partner community. Such great people that I see are here with us today, and so grateful that you've come. Let me open this up. So can you see that?
I
Engaging
can
people
see
at
that.
the
Yes,
grassroots
it looks
level.
great.
Okay, great. That's what we're going to be talking about. Engaging people at the grassroots level. Here we go. I'm going to go through 5 foundational guidelines and 3 steps to success. So you kind of know where I'm heading with this, where we are along the way. These 5 guidelines are things that I think are very key for anyone who's considering leading a grassroots effort. And I'm not talking about being in DC knocking on doors. That's really important. I'm talking about having the privilege and honor of working with people from coast to coast in every state who are passionate about the things that you're passionate about as well. It's such an honor and a privilege. And then 3 steps to success, because with everything, you have to have a plan. And I learned how to make plans that actually work. So I hope this is helpful. Foundational guidelines. The first and most important thing is be a servant. If you are going to lead people, it's what Jesus did. He was a servant. You are a servant as well, and you cannot fake this. You have to be this. You have to know that the work that you do is to serve other people. And when you do that, they serve God or their purpose or whatever in a way that meshes together and everyone works together well. Have you ever had a boss who didn't want to think he was serving you? You're there to serve him. It doesn't work when you're working with individuals to create a movement. I don't even like that in business, but being a servant is key. The second thing is focus on relationship. When you're building grassroots out, it's very important to understand that relationship is the cornerstone of what you're doing if you want any form of longevity. That's what the cross is about. The cross is about God's desire to have a relationship with us. And if it's the most important thing to the guy who created all of this, it probably should be pretty important to us as well. And in building that relationship, you're building a relationship with the people that you have been charged with leading, and you are building a relationship among those people. And when you do that, each of those people extends that group because they build within their sphere of influence to bring even more people in. And that's when you start having a movement. You have to be focused on caring about the relationships among people. The next thing is listen and learn. There's lots of moving pieces when you're doing a grassroots effort, and the best, most efficient way for you to be successful is to listen very well and learn from those people within your sphere that you're leading. Just be an excellent listener, and you'll learn how to adjust the road that you're trying to create in a much easier fashion. Align your voice. And this is really significant. Understanding, knowing your audience, like John was talking about, knowing your audience is key, and aligning your voice in your communications, whether it's in front of them, whether it's in an email, whether it's at an event, whatever it is, aligning your voice to your audience. Think about it like this. If you're a mom and you have a 2-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a husband, and you're calling everyone to dinner, and you say to the 2-year-old, put your toys away, wash your hands, come sit at the table. You tried to communicate that message to your husband in that way, I bet you it's not going to go over very well. You say the same thing, but you align the way it is said to the audience that you are addressing and wanting to serve. It's important that you are very aware of the voice that you're using, and you don't want to use a corporate voice. People are tired of that. Think about the times you've been on airplanes with the stark, stern, put on your seatbelt message, and then you happen to get on a plane where the flight attendant actually makes it personal. How much more engaging is that? So you don't put out in your publications as though someone's picking up a newspaper and reading what you're saying. You communicate like you're talking to them on sitting on a couch. This is the way to communicate and relate because it is personal and it's sincere, and it works so much better. The next thing is prepare for simplicity. If you're working with grassroots, understand that when they're passionate about something and they want to impact it, most people don't have a sense of how they can do that. It feels like a wall of trees, and you're the road paver. Find the tools and the ways and the means of paving the road through that wall of trees to get people to step on that road and walk into that territory. And then you're going to be impactful. And it's important to do one step at a time. Small pieces. Nobody wants to undo a product from Amazon and fold out that 15-page to do. They want to be able to look at a product and know exactly what to do and feel immediately capable of doing it. You have to produce a product, an activity, and present it in such a way that it is self-explanatory, incredibly clear, and does not have to be sorted through, figured out, and they don't have to do their own road paving. That's your job. So those 5 things are just foundational. Be a servant, focus on relationship, listen and learn, align your voice, and prepare for simplicity. Now, overview of the 3 steps of planning in order to prepare what you're going to do with people. Step 1 is know your vision. What and how are you called to impact in my life? What and how is God calling me to impact? What's your mission? What is the primary desire for the results of your actions? If you're working for an organization, study the vision, study the mission, completely understand where you're going. Step 2, know your audience. We talked about this. It's key in this step. Know yourself. If you're working with grassroots, they are passionate about what they're wanting to stand for, step into. They are not on a 9 to 5 clock. If you're on a 9 to 5 clock, you have to determine what your work-life balance is going to be and learn to make boundaries around that time, because there's a propensity for you to get texts at 8 o'clock at night. I've gotten them at midnight, phone calls on Sunday. I'm really bad at this, and I'm okay with being bad at this, because I feel like when I was working, I worked 9 to 5 and I volunteered many other hours because this was community and this was family and we interact. But you do have to make sure that you know yourself, your limitations, what you have accessible. And then the last one is to know your organization. Is that organization 100% behind this? What's your budget? How much of IT time do you have? How much of the comms team time do you have? How much advertising could be made available for what you're going to do? It's just learning the boundaries of your actions and being very clear on this up front before you start any activity. The next is step 3, developing your process. Now, this is where you are thinking through, what am I called to do? What am I going to ask everyone to do? What am I trying to accomplish? If you don't have a very clear picture of where you're starting and where you want to end up, it's like driving without a road. So before you get started, you have to have these things in place in order to drive the success of whatever campaign you're going to be doing. And I'm going to use a My Faith Votes campaign as an example of this. Develop your process. The first step is, what's your objective? Determine what your objective is. So in the case of My Faith Votes in 2024, our objective was to increase the amount of Christian representation, biblical values representation that would be going into the polling box. We wanted more Christians who had true biblical values going to vote. That was our objective. Get more people who believe the word to go vote. So you decide on your objective and then you move to your goals. Solidify your goals. In our case, our goal was to send several goals, but I'm only going to go through one. One of our primary goals was to send 350,000 letters to disengaged Christian voters in 7 key swing states. That was the specific measurable, and this is where your measurables come in. So you can check all along the way to see how you're doing. But that was one of our specific goals. Now that we've made that a goal, we have to go to our strategies and develop them. How are we going to achieve that goal? Well, we had our strategies were a writing campaign, events, holding events, moving into churches, partnerships, coalitions, going into churches, bringing partners in to work with us and take our writing campaign and all of that. So it was primarily a writing campaign, events, and operating in churches. So we have our strategies in place, and then we go to our tactics. That's where you break down every strategy into specific tactics. So for a writing campaign, we need to develop that list of people to whom we'd be writing, a process for people to order their information, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point. You have to have those very specific tactics. So when you have all of those in place, you know your objectives. Oh, you know your objectives. Let me see if I can stop screen sharing here.
You've already stopped screen share.
Oh, okay, good.
We just
Oh,
see
I
you.
can't tell based on this picture. Okay, I thought I had, but I wasn't sure. You know your objectives, you've established your goals, you developed your strategies, and you're filling out your tactics. And all of these are based on what you've determined at the very beginning were the assets that you had available to you, your own and your organizations. Then you are set on a path of success going forward, and honored to do so, because working with people across the nation is one of the most fulfilling things any human being could ever do. And when they all show up and they all integrate and they all become friends, a lot of them become friends, you know that you've changed the world. And in 2024, I'm very happy to say that we had a very strong impact on the election, which has gotten this country into a much better place. So that's what I have in a very short order as to how to work with people across the country.